You're tuned to The Drive on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. Steelers Nation Radio.
We come to you with heavy hearts as the news that we did not want to have to share, have to bear. Our good friend and our colleague, Dale Lolley, passing away at the age of 56.
I pride myself on being somebody who has a pretty good finger on the pulse of the team.
One of the first things I noticed about him was he's very professional. You know, he was very tough. And I'm like, man, this dude's a bulldog. He could have 104 fever when we were doing the show.
This job and what he did was a lot of who Dale was, and he took a lot of pride in it.
This is what I do. This is what we do. Talking to my buddy about some football, and it's a job, but it's also something that we enjoy to do. That's the thing, you know, if you can find a career path that you love to do, it doesn't feel like work.
Good afternoon, Steelers Nation. It's The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network here on a Monday. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson with you for the next 2 hours. And Matt, I think quite a stark difference from how we were feeling last Monday as the Steelers fall 31-17 to Seattle in the home opener. And the whole way driving in here and everything, I'm thinking, like, how do we start this? How do we describe this? I think it's just a disappointing effort. All three phases of the ball, from the offense, from the defense, from the special teams. And I know we'll talk about Caleb Johnson and that gaffe, and a lot of people want to pin it on that, and that was certainly a huge moment.
Huge.
But I thought from top to bottom of the roster, from top to bottom of the coaching staff, just a disappointing Sunday afternoon, a disappointing home opener against Seattle.
Yeah, and you know, you mentioned it's a much different feeling than last Monday, and it is. But what we saw on the field wasn't all that much different.
It's a fair point, unfortunately.
I mean? And that's how this league is. Well, that's how the Steelers are playing right now. And unfortunately, over the last couple of years, there is a fine line of, man, if you're not winning down to down consistently, you know, if your success rate isn't high on both sides of the ball, winning this down, not huge plays, and being reliant on Boz, Rodgers, Watt, sacks, interceptions, splash, which they're really good at, and there's an art to that. But if the splash doesn't go your way, and it didn't go their way with two huge plays, the end zone interception, which at least is 3 points, and was a weird play. It wasn't like Rodgers hit someone in the numbers and just didn't see him. You know what I mean? Like, that was a football play at least. But it was bad, and it was kind of bad luck, and, you know.
It was everything you didn't need rolled into one.
Everything you didn't need when you were going pretty good at that point, too. I mean, the play before that, I would have bet the Steelers would win that game.
Was that the Jalen Warren big play?
And they were moving, and they had momentum, and exactly.
Or you just mean in general
at that moment, I'm
gotcha.
like, if I had to bet on one of these two teams to win right now, I'll take the black and gold with how this is going. And then, obviously, the Caleb Johnson play, you handed them 7 points. I mean, it wasn't even like they did something to make it happen, or this defensive back tipped the ball and made a good play, or this guy ran a wrong route. I mean, you just here's 7 points. Do you want it or not? Mm-hmm. Yes, here you take it. Now, this game and this season is much worse or worrisome than those two plays I referenced. But when the big plays go their way, and you're not winning at the lines of scrimmage, particularly both running games, then you have very little chance. You know what I mean? You know, at least in the Jets game, you hit the 60-yard or Gainwell makes a play. Okay,
you got the special teams plays in the Jets game.
Exactly. And then you end up with a win. In a game, maybe you weren't the best team down to down, but you were the best team in the end because you got the big plays. This game, I didn't think you were the best team down to down, and you didn't get they got the big plays at the end. And that's where you're living right now. It's a razor's edge.
That's how you end up losing by 2 scores.
Mm-hmm.
And, man, you are so right, and we talk about this when we do our NFL pick'ems and we go through the spreads of the games every Friday like we do. You see how infrequently those spreads are more than a touchdown, more than one score.
Right.
Because that's life in the National Football League.
Yeah.
Moats used to – I never forget this. Like 2019, I think it was, the second year that Arthur Moats and I were doing a show together.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I made a comment about, like, I expect them to lose. We were talking about some game, and I was like, I expect them to lose, but I don't expect them to get blown out.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, well, what's getting blown out in the NFL to you? And I was like,
That's interesting.
I think 2 touchdowns or more, I would say, is getting blown out.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of gave me a look, and I was like, well, what? Like, you tell me. You're the one who played a decade in the league. You tell me. And he said anything more than a possession is getting blown out in the NFL. Like, if you lose by more than 7, that was not a close game. Like,
It's not a close game, yeah.
And the term blowout is, I guess it would depend how you define it, right? Some people might say that's getting embarrassed, but from NFL standards, when you look at the spreads, when you look at Vegas, when you look at the average game in the league, they're 1-possession games.
A high percentage of the time.
High percentage of the time. So
and the Steelers are the best in the league. Are great at winning those.
Absolutely.
And there's an art to that. I used to think it was random. I don't think that at all anymore.
No, it's coaching and quarterback play.
Yeah, and having a great kicker.
Having a
things like
serial
that.
killer
Right,
kicker.
that kind of stuff goes a long way. One thing I'll fight Moats on, and he's not wrong, but there are games like I dominate the whole time, and then against a prevent you score, and we end up losing by 9. But I could have beat you by a million.
It was a 3-point game the whole way.
Kind of stuff
There's
happens.
nuance in there. There's nuance in there.
But I hear what he's saying for sure. It's not rarely do you just see a team resting their starters in the fourth quarter, or like yesterday, Trubisky's in at the end of the game. And
it's not Ohio State against Akron.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So when you have a game that was going to be that tight, the 7 points that you hand them on special teams, like you mentioned,
gigantic.
It's
a gift.
Particularly when the second biggest moment of the game was probably that interception in the end zone, the kind of miscommunication there with Calvin Austin. As you mentioned, that was probably at least going to be a field goal for the Steelers.
I mean, that's 10 points,
that's a
maybe
10-point
14.
Swing. That's a 10-point swing right there.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're at home against a bad team, that's tough to overcome.
Oh, yeah,
Maybe you can do it against Carolina.
Maybe.
But a team like Seattle.
Maybe Philly can do it against Carolina.
Maybe Buffalo can do it against Carolina.
I don't think this team can do it against anybody, and most teams can't.
It's a tough way to live. And then, as you mentioned, when a lot of the concerns, and that's the biggest picture thing for me.
Super quick, those 2 plays don't even bother me that much. They're horrible, especially the Johnson one is horrible. It's horrible.
Inexcusable.
But that's not going to happen again. Losing at the line of scrimmage has happened twice in a row on both sides of the ball, and might happen 15 more times.
Explosive runs that you're giving up.
Right.
Through 120 minutes of football.
I got a spreadsheet for you, by the way, but I'm saving that for tomorrow because we got too much to talk about today. You're gonna like it.
I can't wait. I can't wait. That is, man, like you are.
That's what worries me.
That's what worries me.
I always look at it like I'm a doctor. Like, I'm a patient and I come in and you're the doctor and I'm like, I got all these symptoms. I got these little bumps all over. My throat hurts, blah, 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 blah. He's like, those are symptoms, son. Here's the problem is you have this disease or you're not eating enough fiber or whatever. Well, the disease, the problem is the lines of scrimmage.
Yes.
100%. The bumps and the symptoms are showing up all over the place. But if you would win more battles at the line of scrimmage, all those things get a lot nicer,
I have like a mantra of September football, and it's just don't sink yourself.
I like that.
Like, make it to October and have your relative health.
Yeah.
And be at least 500, be at least 2-2.
No matter how you get there.
Yeah. Like, just
which
get,
still could be in the cards.
Which absolutely could still be in the cards.
So many teams went to 1-1. Like I'm interrupting you like crazy. I'm all wound up. I had too much coffee. I did a show before this.
No, it's all
like
good.
You watch last night's game. It's like I don't think Minnesota or Atlanta is really a 2-0 team or a 0-2 team. I don't think the Steelers are really a 2-0 team or an 0-2 team, and that they regulate themselves. All of them are now 1-1. Like okay, you're surviving. You might get to October, like you said, at 2-2. All these teams I mentioned it.
Fine.
Yeah.
But what really matters though is the improvement that you see in the course of those 4 games.
Yeah.
Not being 0-4, 1-3, and being way behind the 8 ball, and having tangible improvement. And I think particularly for this Steelers team with so much turnover at the quarterback position on defense, with a lot of their primary weapons on offense as well.
Yeah. And a million defensive injuries, which I'm not saying that as an
absolutely
excuse,
that should be mentioned.
Yes.
Like, it's about learning your personnel and improving in those first 4-ish games of the season.
Yeah.
And right now, as you rightfully point out, that conversation begins and ends with the trenches on both sides of the football.
1,000%.
Because Aaron Rodgers can be great. They can continue to make splash plays, interceptions, get their hands on footballs, which I'm sure they will.
Boz will make 60-yarders.
But none of that is going to matter in the grand scheme. Hey, it might get you 10 wins and sneaking into the playoffs again.
Right.
But none of that
get hammered by the Ravens or the Bills.
None of that in the
whatever.
grand scheme of things, of trying to get where we want to go, which is double-digit wins and winning a playoff game and hopefully going on a run. None of that is going to transpire if you don't diagnose the issue. And Matt, believe me, they are having much harsher conversations about this on the South Side right now than you and I are. But it begins and ends in all the other stuff is like window dressing.
Yeah.
The trenches are the foundation of the house, and right now the foundation's got some cracks in it. It doesn't matter.
Sure. There's
doesn't
some
matter
nice
how great,
paint. Some of the shutters are nice. The electricity's fine.
Doesn't matter how nice the new roof you put on the house is when the foundation has cracks.
Right. Like the bedroom's beautiful. Some rooms are crappy.
You got a sweet 65-inch TV in the basement.
Right. But sometimes the foundation rattles and it falls and it smashes, But the thing is, the good news is I 1,000% think they know this. Every team knows their problems, more or less. But they've also put their money where their mouth is. Benton, Harmon, Frazier, both tackles. They've used their resources
invested where you want them to.
Yeah. Now it needs to come to fruition, and it hasn't yet in 2025.
No, it has not. And it is only 120 minutes of football. I think that is important, obviously, to note.
No question.
We do the overreaction, underreaction thing in the NFL like no other business because we love this so much. It's such a big deal. We spend so much time getting ready for just 17 regular season games. But right now, through 120 minutes, that's what you got.
And the problem, it's 2/17 of the season. It's not the Pens had bad goalie play for the first 2 weeks of the season.
Right.
Yeah, first 2 games of the season.
Exactly right. And, don't look now, but you're not going to be back home again until week 6.
I know.
I mean, you're going on the road. New England is not a great team. I'm not trying to gas that up. But they're going to be a team that wants to win in the trenches as well, too, just like the Steelers.
Their first-round pick was a tackle. They invested like crazy in the D-line.
Milton big money on that defensive line.
I mean, we'll talk Patriots, but the little I've dug in, they had the fewest sacks in the league this year. They already have 9, and they're getting after quarterbacks like crazy. They're fixing their problems. They're trending the right direction,
And a lot of those things, too, Matt. Again, new season, new quarterback, I think you and I probably the most roster change that the Steelers have had in an offseason that I can remember.
And that's really hard, especially in today's NFL when you don't do as much in camp or preseason, and nobody does.
But a lot of the struggles from last year are continuing still early on through 2 games. A lot of the things that we talked about, sack differential, turnover differential, yards per carry for the run game.
Brutal.
It's still not even close to where they need it to be.
Not even close. So I'm getting real deep into the weeds, but something I've really found out this morning, to pull back the curtain, my Mondays, until noon, I am not on the air. From noon until today, with 2 Monday night games, I will be busy from noon until the end of the last kickoff.
Till about 1 a.m.
One thing after another, or a game in front of me. Maybe find a sandwich somewhere in between. But from the second I wake up until noon when I'm on the air or I get here, I just do research like crazy. It's Matt Stats starts growing.
Just pound coffee and get into some numbers.
So, but one thing that really stood out to me, and my big thing is, do the stats and the stuff I'm looking at match what I saw on Sunday too? If it doesn't, I don't even bring it up to you guys.
That's the way to use analytics and statistics.
That doesn't quite add up. But one thing, like if you look at Matt Stats going into week 1, the last 2 or 3 years, and there's a lot of examples we'll talk about. Yards per carry is another one. The Steelers face more pass attempts in the middle of the field than any defense over the 2022, 23, 24 seasons.
Okay.
And 24, it was a little less. They know this. People think, they don't know anything. They're not analytically inclined. Well, they went and got Queen, Wilson, Elliott, and then Ramsey as a slot corner. So you think that, and I think people have attacked the middle of the fields because, first off, their linebackers have been weak in previous years. Mm-hmm. Post-Shazier, they've been bad on the second level. They'll be the first to tell you that. And their pass rushes show good. I don't want to hold the ball, pat the ball, throw deep outs and goes outside the numbers because it takes a lot longer for the ball to get there, and my quarterback gets hit a lot, and I don't like it. So I'm going to attack the middle of the field. So the Steelers know this, and they've reinforced the middle of the field. But yesterday, 46% of the Seattle attempts were in the middle of the field. 25's a high number. That was all they were doing. And then it's like, ooh, the things that were weak, it's one game. And that's where Kupp and Smith-Njigba make their money and their tight ends, and they don't really have the Metcalf outside the numbers anymore. But they attacked like it was any other year with great success, and that bothered me. You know what I mean? And again, that's a one-game thing.
I want to we need to get to a break here, but I wanted when we come back, I want to dig into that more with you because I do think, again, you have to kind of grain of salt all of it because it's only 2 games this year, but there is also that sample size of the past, which even with the roster turnover still matters.
Still matters. It's how other offensive coordinators have this. I'm
the
so
blueprint,
big on
the
that.
blueprint is there.
Yeah, really smart coordinators in this league have decided that's how we attack the Steelers. I think that's super important, especially when you see trends.
You mentioned attacking the middle of the field. That, I think, is impossible to deny at this point. The other thing is they're just running away from T.J. Watt. I mean,
at a ridiculous rate.
If you look where the Seahawks are running the football to the left side, like 94 or 96% of the time.
Yeah.
That's not an accident.
No, it's screaming that's the only reason why. Especially if Highsmith goes out and Herbig's in.
Totally.
I mean,
and
I
we
know
love
Cam
Herbig,
Hayward's
but
over
that's
there.
not his specialty.
That's not his specialty, but no, they are. Both teams have ran away from Watt massively. Now, sorry to hijack it, and I've gotten a lot of this today. People are just mad. Well, then why doesn't Watt go to the right side? In this game, I wouldn't have moved him because the weak link of the Seahawks offensive line was the right side and the right tackle. Now, that doesn't mean you couldn't bump people more to the left as a whole.
Sure.
When you see the trends are that strong. But I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, it's 2 games and everybody runs left.
Everyone runs left.
Everyone runs left.
It's like, Matt, I played a little basketball growing up. I wasn't a superstar, but I couldn't dribble with my left hand.
Yeah, okay.
I was going right every time.
And people start to figure it out.
You could figure if you're
they're watching the Euler tape.
They're watching the Euler tape.
Right,
These
right.
coaches are making millions of dollars. They're like, this guy can't dribble with his left hand.
Right.
It's almost that blatant where like, here's where we're going.
Here's where we're
over
going.
90% of the time.
Yeah.
And when you combine that with the success over the middle of the field, like that is something
And
that
it was harder to do if Hayward's one of the best players in the league.
Totally.
He hasn't been yet.
Totally.
I thought he was better in this game, but he hasn't been yet, and he's out there too much.
And
he's never on the same size Watt. Yeah, right.
Correct. And he, I think, will get more comfortable and more up to speed. Certainly, he's the vintage, Ford F-150 that you can't just start it up and go 0 to 60, right? You got to get the juices flowing and get acclimated and get acclimated.
He's not going to get out of the starting blocks probably as quick as others, nor should he at this point.
And I know, listen, the defense is banged up. They are down some key starters. Patrick Queen missed snaps in that game. Peyton Wilson missed snaps in that game. You were already down Elliott and Porter. You lose Loudermilk. You lose Highsmith.
Yeah. But
again, this is one of those things when we get a couple weeks into October here where it's really okay. We know who we are now. You've had the first 4 games.
And by then, Cam might be one of the best defense tackles in the league. And
wouldn't
I kind
surprise
of
us.
expect him
to.
to.
I don't think that would surprise us one bit.
Which would go a long way.
But in the interim, you better start to find some ways to figure this out. You better start to make teams play left-handed a little bit more, to use my basketball analogy.
Losing Highsmith doesn't help that cause.
Not at all.
You're going to get a lot of runs to the left, if not more. I'm not sure you could do it more. So we talk about Pro Football Focus. You can't ignore them. They're a great resource. But Watt basically broke their run defense grade for an edge player last year. He was that good.
He's great. He doesn't get enough credit. He's great in the run game.
I know he's gone 6 games without a sack, blah, blah, blah. Why'd you give him any money? He's really good, guys. I mean, he'll get his sacks. They don't sweat it. But his run defense is awesome, and everybody knows it. So you're going to get this more and more and more. Now, losing Highsmith definitely hurts in that regard because you're a lesser team if Sawyer's out there. You're not a lesser team versus the pass if Herbig's out there, but you are versus the run. I mean, these are facts. Cam goes a long way of fixing it, or at least making it less desirable to run to the left.
Yes.
Let's just put it that way. But he's not up to speed yet. You hope he will be. I think he will be, and I thought this game was better than week 1. But this is my problem is, again, going back to when you go to the doctor's office, the doctor isn't super worried that you have a lump or a pimple. It's where it came from, The D-line snaps, to me, are not where you wanted them to be through 2 games.
Okay.
So Benton has never been close to a full-time player. He's been either the nose in the 3-4, and then, like, his first season, this is his 3rd year. His first year, he only played like 4 snaps on 3rd and longs or in the nickel. Last year, he played more. But he's never been a massive snap eater. I mean, even the nose, you're only on the field, the 3-4 for 30% of the plays or something
Especially
like that.
now in 2025, less than ever.
Right. And this can't be by design. Some of this is injury related. But their defensive line snaps right now. Benton leads the way with 94. It's not how you drew it up. Cam is second at 91. With considering his offseason, probably not how you drew it up. The third guy is Y.A. Black. It's all the way down to 64. And I think they're giving him more and more. And that's been somewhat successful.
Encouraging.
I'm cool with that.
I think there's some things to like there, certainly.
Yeah. I think that's a good development.
Yes.
And some of it by necessity, but great inventions have been made by necessity too. But no other defensive lineman's played more than 37. So you're at 94, 91, 64.
And a massive drop off.
37 way down here. And that ain't cutting it. Like some of that's because Loudermilk got hurt, which I hope he's fine, but could be a good thing, by the way. I mean, he was starting and not playing well.
Struggling.
Yeah. Ukele, I don't know. I know I don't pronounce his name particularly well. I think he's been a bright spot too. Maybe he gets more and more nose and takes stuff off Benton's plate. Harmon someday will be back. He was
hopefully in New England. Hopefully
right
up there in Foxborough this weekend.
So I just think that is kind of telling. It's not an excuse, but it's kind of telling of which defensive linemen have been out there and when. Isn't how you drew it up. Even though you have a deep D line and what you thought was a really good D line. Again, the root of all 90% of the Steelers' problems to me is losing at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball.
I do think it's that simple. And again, there's a ton of other minutia. There's a ton of other details in there, but I do think it's that simple.
Number 2 receiver, yes. So they're getting attacked in the middle of the field too much, yes. But if you win at both lines of scrimmage, everything else gets easier.
Yes, it does.
Sometimes the game's that simple.
Chuck
Noll was sitting there and be like, block people. Get off blocks.
Blocking, tackling, shedding blocks.
Right.
The traditional elements of football. I do want to talk a little bit about the Steelers secondary with you as well too, but let's stay there and kind of spin the block for a second to the Steelers offensive line.
Okay.
Because I do feel like for the first, half an hour of the show, we've spent more of the time talking about the defensive side.
Yeah. Just expectation-wise and how Seattle's built, I'm much more worried about the defense than the offense. Or disappointed.
I think it's fair to say that the Steelers, the last 2 weeks, their opening 2 games, they have played good to very good defensive fronts.
Yes.
I think the Jets is good. I think Seattle's is very good.
Agreed.
But at the same time, as you mentioned, this is supposed to be the time that we're talking about the Steelers' offensive line ascending and being good to very good as well.
Right.
They have 2 first-round picks as bookends. They got a second-round pick at center. Isaac Seumalo was a big free agent investment when they signed him a few years ago. And Mason McCormick was not a first or second round pick, but he wasn't a 7th round pick either.
And he was a success story as a rookie.
To me, I understand that they've had some significant tasks in the first 2 weeks in terms of the teams that they've been playing, but it's got to look better than it has through 120 minutes.
And I say this a million times over a 365-day year. D-lines are way better than O-lines in the league. It's the biggest discrepancy
you got
going.
The apex predators all across the defensive line.
Velociraptors everywhere on the defensive line.
That's right. That's the line you like to use. Not apex predator, velociraptors.
And they're all different, too. Some are rhinos. Some are grizzly bears.
Hippos?
There's mako sharks. I mean, you got to block. I mean, you got to block a great white. It doesn't get any better. And New England's went from the worst to being quite good now all of a sudden. And then you're going to get the Vikes, and then you're going to, doesn't get any easier. But this is a problem all teams are dealing with is D linemen are nasty nowadays. You got to figure out a way around it,
That you do. And they're has not been a lot of bright spots in that regard through the first two games.
No.
Everyone
knows Jones was, quote, to blame the first week. I thought he was better yesterday.
That is the one bright spot. No one was talking about Broderick Jones yesterday, and I think that's a good thing. Troy Fautanu did not have his best game, but I also think we need to expect that, as it was his third start in his NFL career.
He was disappointing yesterday, but I'll still buy that stock all day long.
Yes, absolutely right. But there's just, Matt, there's just no push. You know,
that's the thing.
Even when they would have some explosive plays, and I don't know, did they have one again in the run game? Did they have one in the run game? Three in the run game? I'm trying to remember. The numbers are all running together at this point.
Not
but
great.
Even when it feels like they're getting explosive plays in that department, it's felt more like it's been Jaylen Warren making a player or two miss and making something out of, I don't want to say nothing, but not much. You know, it hasn't been, wow, look at all the space that the offensive line cleared there, and they were moving bodies, and Jaylen Warren was able to hit the hole. It was Jaylen Warren
broke. Breece Hall and Walker are getting that and doing the stuff.
Breece Hall had a 19-yard touchdown run and didn't get touched. Kenneth Walker, had a 19-yard touchdown run yesterday and didn't get touched.
Right.
Jaylen Warren, when he's getting 9-yard runs, a little bit of chunk runs, it feels like it's more he's breaking a tackle or two and doing something spectacular, hurdling somebody or breaking a tackle, and that to me is
Pittsburgh only has one run play that has gone for 10 or more yards in 2 games.
Because I know they had none against the Jets.
None against Jets.
Jaylen Warren had a 9-yard run, but right on kind of that line. But even if you want to count that, that's one per game then, if you give Jaylen Warren that 9-yard run at MetLife Stadium.
I mean, if we're going to make an arbitrary cutoff at 10 because it's a round number.
Let's make it 9. But it still only gets you one more.
Yeah, it's not enough.
It's not enough.
I was going to save my spreadsheet for tomorrow, but explosive run differential. That's 10 yards or more.
A run of 10 yards or more. Yep.
They're -9 in 2 games. -9.
That's 120 minutes of football.
Right.
I mean,
-9.
That is, and
just runs.
When you especially,
you want to talk about that kind of just tells the whole story.
If you're the Cincinnati Bengals, and I know it's different now because Joe Burrow, but if you're a team that's clearly predicated upon your quarterback and throwing the football, that might not be the end of the world.
You might be 2-0. Yeah, right.
But if you are a team that is predicated on running the football and stopping the run, and you combine those two things, that's how you are where the Steelers are right now, where I know hindsight is always 20/20, but as you kind of alluded to at the start of the show, you're feeling a little more fortunate about getting out of MetLife with a win, but some of those warts, some of those issues are looming a little bit larger right now in the face of what just happened and kind of repeating a lot of those sins yesterday.
Yeah, and I don't mean to harp back on the Steeler defense too much, but they actually weren't bad down against the run as they were against the Jets. Now, Fields has something to do with that too. I mean, the running quarterback's a nightmare, and he's phenomenal at it. But you still allowed the explosives. I was joking. I mean, some people were saying, like, well, if you take away the 6 big runs that Walker had, the run defense wasn't bad.
Okay.
Well,
if you take away if you take away the one fastball where the pitcher gave up a grand slam, it wasn't that bad.
Right.
That counts.
It counts, and it wasn't one bad play.
That's also the purpose of sticking with the run game, is eventually this dam's going to break and we're going to hit a big one.
Exactly. Now, there is something to be said that their success rate, just down after down against the run was better in week 2. But you still allowed 6 or 7 or 8 explosives.
And it's situationally, it seemed like at the worst possible time.
I know like their third down conversion rate on defense wasn't that terrible, but it felt terrible. It was they convert a lot of third and longs.
Were they like 5 of 16? Does that sound right?
I'm thinking about the defense.
Oh, the defense. Okay.
Yeah.
Seattle were they 6 of 16, or does that sound?
It was like 50%, but it felt like 80.
Because again, situationally, it was like they got them when they needed them.
Yep. Boy, Kupp just got 8 when on 3rd and 7.
Man, where did that performance come from?
You know what I mean? Yeah.
I was not expecting that. And you know what? That's kind of like, let's...
The Kupp stuff worries me.
We start with the Tuesday Mike Tomlin press conference.
Yeah.
And I think everybody in Steelers land waiting, anticipating, getting some updates on some of these injury concerns, which unfortunately, just 2 weeks into the season, there are already plenty.
Yeah.
Particularly on the
on
the defensive side of the football. Here are the latest injury updates per Mike Tomlin. For this weekend, you can rule out Isaiah Loudermilk and Alex Highsmith.
Okay.
Did sound like some potential better news for Highsmith. We'll get to that in a second. But you can rule out Loudermilk and Highsmith. And obviously the guys that are on IR as well, too. The Malik Harrisons and the guys that are on IR.
Sure.
Questionable: Deshaun Elliott, Derrick Harmon, Joey Porter Jr.
Okay.
Although I will
say...
First
time we've had good news about Harmon.
First time we've had good news in that regard. Although I will say it didn't sound... The tone, and you always got a grain of salt with these things.
Sure.
The tone in Mike Tomlin's voice didn't sound overly optimistic as Harmon, or maybe just not quite as optimistic as some of the other guys, but still listed as questionable. That's better.
It's better than it was a week ago.
Than being ruled out at this point.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then guys who they're going to have to wait and see, guys who are going to be slow early in the week but could be ready for game time. Patrick Queen with an oblique and Darius Slay with a shoulder. That was the latest from Mike Tomlin. The good news, though, is that it's not a high ankle sprain for Alex Highsmith. It's just an ankle sprain.
Good, okay. I thought his was more promising than Loudermilk.
So it is. And so he will certainly not play this weekend, and I think we'd probably be surprised even if he played in Dublin in a couple weeks against the Vikings.
Right.
But hopefully we'll see him sooner rather than later in October.
Okay. Might Loudermilk, I'm not that you know the answer to this, I'm just throwing it out there. Might Loudermilk end up on IR or...
Wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, high ankle for...
It's usually at least 4 weeks.
I would say 4 seems pretty conservative.
That's if pie in the sky, everything goes as well as possible. It's normally more like 5-6 weeks.
Yeah.
And
it takes a while till you're really the same and all that good stuff, too.
And so, I think that's a real possibility. We'll ask Chris Adamski about that here in 15 minutes or so.
This is going to sound mean, but I think this could be a blessing in disguise. I mean, Harmon would obviously... Loudermilk's just been playing too much for my liking, to be honest with you. I mean, pre-injury. I mean, we mentioned... I cited some of the defensive line snap counts yesterday. And frankly, I think he'd be much closer to the top had he not gotten injured. I mean, the first game he played quite a bit. Second game he got injured pretty early. And he's not the only one to blame, but I think he's been a liability in terms of run defense, and he brings the least to the table as a pass rusher of the group. I thought he was a borderline roster guy. I mean,
we talked a lot about that in training camp.
And now all of a sudden he's thrust into starter. I don't think they have any intention of doing it, but I'd love to see Benton in his spot and Ekwali it knows more, or Black either spot more. Just Ekwali more, I think, in general would be favorable to me. I'd rather have Ekwali on the field than Loudermilk. I know they don't play the exact same position.
But what they do is if you make that change, is that allows, as you just mentioned, Keanu Benton to be in a more opportunistic role, a more opportunistic position.
If they would do it.
Which at this point might be as important as anything on that defensive line. You have got to get him going. You got to get something out of him.
I know.
Particularly in the absence of Derrick Harmon.
That's what I mean. Exactly. I mean, and Harmon, you probably don't want to thrust into an every down role as a true rookie anyway. So maybe you can shuffle these guys around and get your best 3 out there in their proper spots, and even give Hayward a little bit of a breather. Thing is, too, is what I noticed in the second week in particular, the snaps Hayward's not on the field, they're running the ball like every time, too.
Every time.
And they're always going that direction no matter what when they run the ball. We know that. But when he's not on the field, they're running right at his spot.
Yes, and again, Mike Tomlin talked about this today too. 2 games into the season, you're starting to develop trends.
Oh, absolutely.
And one of those trends, we highlighted this yesterday, how often teams are running left almost exclusively.
Right.
Over 90% of the time.
Yeah.
And how often they're targeting the middle of the field.
Yes, both those things are getting to be very obvious, yeah.
And Matt, I know, you have to bring in the injury situation to this conversation. It's not an excuse, it's a reality. But at the same time, how much time throughout July and early August, too, did we spend talking about how much we like the depth on this defense?
Absolutely.
I realize
it's getting tested. I get that.
It's been a lot early. We outlined the issues, the less than ideal scenario of your top 5 or 6, if you want to count Peppers, defensive backs on Sunday were all not on your roster last year, and even in the case of people like Chuck Clark and and Peppers, they're hopping on a moving train later in the process. It wasn't like they were with the team to begin training camp
Absolutely.
in late July in Latrobe. But again, all that
Real quick on that D-back thing is I went and double-checked it. Only 5 defensive backs actually saw the field in that game, which is rare, but they're not a big 11 team and blah, blah. Peppers never stepped out on the field. So it was just those 5, and none of them were with the team. Everyone that got a snap, like I put it in Matt's stats, every defensive back that got a snap in week 2 did not play for the Steelers in 2024.
And that is a much tougher task in week 2 than it is in week 12. I don't think I'm breaking any
It's not an
news
excuse
there.
in week 12. In week 2, it's a reality, right?
But the reality is, like, this is life in the National Football League. And while it's hit the Steelers heavy and hard early on, that's also why we talked so much about how confident we were in the depth, particularly of this defense throughout July and August and through training camp in the preseason.
And you might find some stuff out.
That's what I mean. It's not ideal, but this needs to be the week that you start figuring it out. It doesn't have to be a Mona Lisa this week, but it can't be what we've seen through 2 weeks.
Exactly. I mean, of course we want improvement, but you might know who can I count on, who can I not, who those defensive linemen when you are healthier, which you never know if you are. That's one of my favorite things. Oh, we're definitely going to get healthier. Have you ever watched football? That's not really how it works. People get hurt every week.
That's like my wife and I say to each other a couple times a year, when things slow down.
Right.
Things are never going to slow down.
2 young kids.
We've got 2 young kids. We both got crazy full-time all over the place jobs.
Right.
Nothing's going to slow. It's going to get worse, if anything.
Right. Wait till they're like in sports or dance or whatever they choose to do. I mean, you're going to be carting them all over the place. It's not going to slow down ever.
Heck no.
Right.
Well, not for maybe another, 20 years. And by that point...
Yeah, my life's starting to slow down because one of them left the house and the other one will a year from now. That's slowing down a little.
One's in Lexington having fun in college, and the other might be joining them here before too much longer.
I only do 8 podcasts a day or whatever. Right.
Don't have to prepare quite as much for dinner, without your son, without the 18-year-old boy being in the house.
But we are starting to. You might learn things, like week 10. Oh, I feel really comfortable putting this guy in to spell Hayward, or boy, let's get Holcomb in a rotation, or Peppers is a perfect example because he's so new. He's a starter now, or he's out there a lot, or we're playing big nickel with him, or he's clearly ahead of Chuck Clark, or might find these things out. Peppers against his old team, I think maybe you get him involved this week.
Interesting storyline. Yeah, I would at least expect him to see the field this week. Now, if that's less than 10 snaps,
so be it. Right.
So be it. But I would at least expect him to step between the white lines and not just be in pads on the sideline.
Agreed.
Matt, kind of other thing that I wanted to discuss with you from Mike Tomlin's press conference.
Yeah, I was saying, what else did he say? Anything else good?
Yeah, before we get to Adamski here in a few minutes, he did not say who will return kicks this week, but he did say that it will not be Caleb Johnson.
I think that's such an easy decision.
Easy, but who is it now then? Is it Warren? Is it Wilson? Is it Gainwell? I mean, their average starting field position after a kickoff compared to their opponent's average starting field position after a kickoff is not good. That's another thing Mike Tomlin acknowledged today.
Yeah.
When you got an offense that's
trying to find that number, and I can't because, real quick, like on DVOA is where I find all that stuff, or one of those, find that, but it's always starting field position per drive. So
that includes punts and turnovers.
Turnovers screw you up a little bit. I mean, over the course of the year, you get a better feel, but I haven't got it. I'll find it probably the next day or two because I'm really interested what the discrepancy is of where they start on kickoffs versus where they allow the starting kickoff. I bet it's as big as any margin in the league.
Just off the eye test.
It's bad.
Just off the vibes test, right?
Bad,
Through 120 minutes of football, it's bad. It seems like the Jets and the Seahawks were starting every drive at least the 30, 35-yard line.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes even closer to the 40. I mean, they're a first down away from midfield.
Yeah, and you said this the other day. They're like 2 first downs away from kicker for 3 points.
The way
kickers play now.
You play a team that has a good kicker, which most teams in the NFL do.
Yeah.
You get 2 first downs, you're in field goal range.
Right. Somebody made a 70-yarder against them in the preseason.
That can't happen, and it would be, especially if it was happening league-wide, if the Steelers were doing it too. If
everybody's starting better.
If they're starting
which I bet they are, but the Steelers aren't.
But the Steelers certainly are not. And again, I don't have the exact. I'm just going off eye test. I'm just going off vibes. I'm just going off of sitting in the press box for both of those games and the broadcast booth, part of me, for both of those games and watching it all go down. It felt like every return for Seattle and New York and they're at the 35, 40-yard line already.
It feels like 10 yards difference. Like a whole first down you have
whole
to get
first down difference
right,
where the Steelers are starting at the 23, 24.
Yeah.
And that over the course of 8, 9, 10 offensive series ends up being a substantial difference and ends up leading to much easier scoring opportunities for the opposition. That's got to change.
Yeah, and last note on that, too, is their kickoff and kickoff return, they were really good on special teams across the board last year. Like, if you just look at PFF special team grade, they're like top 5.
Boswell helps that a ton.
Boswell helps it a ton.
Waitman was a above-average punter.
They always block an extra kick than most teams or so, which goes an awful long way. The punt coverage unit was really good. Both the specialists were really good. But kickoff and kickoff coverage were their weakness. And not the bottom of the league, but weren't great. I mean, and they got worse as the season went on. So this has been a little bit of a theme lately, but starting field position, and that a lot of it's because of the turnovers, has been one of their secret sauces too. We know the offense, how they always over 500. It's Tomlin magic. Well, they start their field position starting is better than most teams over these last few years. A lot of it's because they cause a turnover at midfield or whatever, and boom, you get 3 out of that.
Matt, if you and I are running a race against each other, we're running the mile, and I get a quarter-mile head start, that's significant.
Yeah, if I get a quarter-mile head start, we might tie.
I think you're giving me too much credit for being in shape, but yeah, it's significant.
It's massive, right?
When you win in the margins, which a lot of winning in the National Football League is winning in the margins.
Massively.
That stuff 8, 9, 10 times a game ends up adding up, and
I bet it's 10 yards.
And that's,
I mean, it feels like a ton. I bet it's 10 yards.
That's a lot of extra first downs that you're giving to the opposition. I like Mike Tomlin acknowledging and addressing that today. I want to see how they start attacking it on Sunday in Foxborough. I've got one optimistic and one pessimistic. One good, one bad, I
Bring
guess.
It on. Let's go.
Which would you like first?
Give me the bad news.
Okay. It's something that you tweeted out.
Oh, okay.
And really stands out when you go back and watch the game. The Steelers' offense had a 33.9% success rate. That's in the ninth percentage, in the league.
Yeah.
That means 91% of the NFL teams are having more success than you. That is, needless to say, not good. Break that down for us, exactly what that means, what success rate means, and how and where the Steelers are struggling in that department.
Basically, it's a consistency metric that is very popular right now. EPA and success rate have kind of dominated in their, not that any stat like that is perfect, but success rate is, and it's the same for the defense. How successful are, you can use it either way. And basically, the rules of it are you get 4 yards or more on first down. I know Wolf's got to say.
Craig Wolfley, man. We want 4 yards or more on first down.
If you can do that on first and 10,
schedule.
Boom. That is a successful play, no matter how you do it. On second down, you have to get half of the down and distance. I mean, if it's 2nd and 15, you got to get 7.5. I mean, if it's 2nd and 1, you got to get half. So
makes sense.
Yeah, and put yourself in situation to get the convert on third down, that is considered a successful play on third down.
Is
just simply converting.
Moving the sticks.
Yeah. So basically, and it just kind of dawned on me, maybe that changes a little. If you're a team that goes for it a ton on fourth, 3rd and 8 becomes a rundown. Like the Eagles, I think about a lot. Like they some matchup advantages. The Lions, the whole planet knows they're going to go for it. 3rd and 6, they might run the ball to Saquon or Montgomery, and they might think it's successful if they get 5 because now I'm in tush-push land and I'm going to get it or whatever. But anyways, that's how the metric works. And it's basically a measure of consistency. The bigger body of work,
Absolutely.
You really start to feel, is this team successfully moving the chains? And that's a big complaint I've had about the team as a whole is I think down to down, offense and defense, they haven't been the better team in either game. Now, some splash will go a long way, or giving them 7 points on a kickoff return, or losing the splash world could go a long way. But down to down, they're not consistently successful. And I was shocked it was that low. I mean, that's pretty low.
I think most people, if we would have just blind quiz, pop quiz, what do you think the Steelers' success rate is on offense?
Yeah.
I would guess that their answer would be not good.
bottom third.
But not that it was in the bottom 10% of the
Right,
not that it's
right.
one of the worst 3 or 4 teams in the league.
Pretty brutal, yeah.
And I think we all knew that this offense was going to take time. I don't think anybody should have expected this offense to look as good as it would by Halloween as it does in September. I mean, there's a realistic timeline there.
Yeah.
But it's got to be better than 34. It's got to be better than 1 out of 3 plays you're having success.
Yeah, I mean, it needs to be consistent. Yeah, I mean, and again, a lot of that to me just reflects losing at the line of scrimmage. And if you win at the line of scrimmage, an ordinary back can get you those 4 yards on first down or get you half the down and distance on second, or an ordinary quarterback gets an extra half second to complete a pass or wait for a route to develop. And I'm not saying the Steelers skill guys are ordinary necessarily, but it's just if you win at the line of scrimmage,
Changes everything.
basic stuff. I mean, it has an avalanche effect of everything being easier for everybody involved.
And that's where I wanted to go. That transitions nicely to some good news.
Okay.
Upon further review, upon our Tuesday rewind and rewatching the game on Monday night, I thought Broderick Jones looked much better.
Yes.
I'm not saying he was an A+. I'm not saying he was a Pro Bowler. But I thought he looked more confident. I thought he was moving better. I thought he was picking up stunts and disguise coverage or disguise blitzes a lot better. He just looked more comfortable, Matt. And again, not saying that it was a valedictorian type performance, but what really encouraged me is that even on the reps where he wasn't at his best, it still was not like we talked about last week. It's one thing to have a C rep. It's completely another to fail it.
You're right.
He did.
His low light tape's pretty bad.
His low light tape has been pretty bad and was bad against the Jets. His low light tape against Seattle was a couple C reps.
Yeah, okay, right.
You
consistency at that position so important.
You can live with that. That was the encouraging part to me. Like we talked about how like 8 or 9 reps for Broderick are fine, but it's the other 1 or 2 that are just complete zeros, complete Fs.
Yeah.
He eliminated those 1 or 2 Fs from his game on Sunday, and that to me is encouraging.
And unfortunately for the position he plays,
no one's talking about it.
Well, right, and he's probably thrilled with that. But the average fan is always going to remember the zero play. What on earth happened there? Not the C rep that he still kind of gets the job done. The ball comes out, and his O-line coach is like, you could have done this better, but no one notices
you live
that.
to fight another day.
No one notices that.
The ultimate example of that to me, Matt, is there was that matchup in what would it have been, like 2007 or whatever, when the Jets played the Patriots. And it was Randy Moss, just absolute king of the world against Revis Island. And that was like one of the most individual hyped matchups in a football game I can remember in my life. And early on in the game, Randy Moss torched Revis and went for like a 40-yard touchdown. Okay. And that clip still gets posted on social media and stuff like that. Yeah. That's what everybody saw and everybody talked about.
Even when he went in the Hall of Fame, Randy Moss could beat him. Right.
What they didn't talk about or see was that was, I think, one of two. The rest of the game, Randy Moss had like 1 reception for 3 yards.
And probably the rest of the season, Revis gave up.
But everybody just, look at this. Randy Moss cooked Revis.
Yeah.
When the other 59 and a half minutes of the game, Revis clearly got the better of him.
Yeah.
That's kind of life as a cornerback. That's kind of life as a left tackle as well, too.
And that's 2 Hall of Famers.
Exactly. That's 2 of the best to ever do it at their positions. Right. If Broderick Jones, that's where it needs to start, is eliminating those F reps, those 0 reps. Get that low light tape out of your game. And then we'll stabilize and we'll go from there. I thought Sunday was encouraging in that regard.
I think you're 100% right. I'm glad we've spent enough time on him last week. Let's spend a little bit of time on him this week. I mean, let's be fair. You know,
your praise should be as loud as your criticism.
Yeah, exactly. What I mean? And hopefully by Thanksgiving or so, we might be like, yeah, he had a pretty bad week 1, right? Haven't really thought much about him since.
Hopefully we're saying at Thanksgiving they're going to pick up his 5th-year option.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think that's not insane.
I don't either. And in fact, that would be one of the more encouraging developments of the season. Aside from, as we all know, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. Every season is about It's about winning double-digit games, competing for a division title, getting into the playoffs, all those things.
That's important on so many levels.
And the big picture, Broderick Jones and that stability at left tackle. And as we've highlighted, what that would allow you to do in prioritizing a quarterback in the first round of this draft as well, too, and not having left tackle as a position of need as well,
You don't want those two positions to be your two biggest positions in need.
No,
because those are first-round
that's
things.
a nightmare
you only
scenario.
get one pick in the first, right?
Because those are the two positions where you have to almost get them in the first round, and the exceptions are few and far between.
Yeah.
Aside from wins and losses and how the season ends and all that stuff and postseason success, Broderick Jones' development might be the biggest story of the season in terms of the bigger picture for the Steelers.
Right.
Did not look good week 1. Moved certainly in the right direction week 2.
1,000%. Yeah, again, I'm glad we brought him up in a positive manner. I hope we don't bring him up at one bit next week. You know
exactly
what I mean?
right.
The first one we talked a lot. This week we talk a little less, but good stuff. Next week maybe we don't even mention his name. That'd be great.
That would be great.
And they got another stiff test. Boy, these guys can rush the passer too. So another. I know later in the week we start previewing things, but this is the third week in a row.
It's a good defensive front.
Where I'm going to tell people, I know you don't know a lot of these defensive linemen. A lot of people didn't know Boye Mafe, and and I'm like, but it's a really good group. Or McDonald, and these are three of the most understated but really good defensive fronts.
Yeah, they are certainly capable in New England in that department, particularly with the addition of Milton from Philadelphia in the offseason. I mean, it's going to be another substantial challenge for those guys up front. That's something we'll spend plenty of time on here in the back half of the week. First-round pick Derrick Harmon returned to practice for the first time since he sprained his MCL in the preseason. He is wearing a brace on that right knee, as I think everyone would imagine. But a lot of speculation. When could he return? When will he return? The first part of that is getting his butt back on the practice field. And he did that today. First practice since that MCL injury for Derrick Harmon. That's good news. That's a good starting point.
Yeah, on a Wednesday, so maybe he can string. A lot of these times, Dale was great at this kind of stuff for being in practice all the time. It's like, okay, he goes out and he does stuff. Let's see how it feels tomorrow. Can you do 2 practices in a row?
And maybe you can do a little bit more tomorrow than you did today.
Yeah, and maybe it's like, I better back off. I'll take this week off. Or, it held up pretty well. Let's see how we go tomorrow. But the fact that he's out there doing stuff on a Wednesday, real positive. I mean, I would think at a minimum, and we kind of knew this when he was not put on IR, you got to think he's playing in Dublin.
I would hope that, like, worst case scenario, they give him, like, hey, you're our first round pick. We're hoping you're going to be here for the next 12 years. You know, let's give you 1 extra week to be safe. But I would think worst case scenario, he makes his debut in Dublin. But I think at least the door is, who knows how wide that door is open, but the door is at least open for him to play this weekend in New England.
Yeah, and maybe the New England, it's like, we just want to put you out there in 3rd and longs, or we're going to give you 10 snaps. And sometimes people say that, and you go into the game, and he's like, Coach, I can do more. And we'll see. I know you're about to bring it up, but Loudermilk goes to IR. So the fact that they didn't bring another D lineman in the mix, pretty promising. Right?
They
could sure use them.
That's a good kind of reading of the tea leaves by you there as well too. And that is the other news of the day. Isaiah Loudermilk has been placed on IR, of course, with that high ankle sprain that he suffered in the first half against Seattle. No IR for Alex Highsmith, though, which I think is a good news in the bigger picture for his timeline. We had kind of speculated a little bit yesterday if either of those guys could be headed to IR. Loudermilk does head to IR.
They've never called his a high ankle sprain, I don't think.
Loudermilk? Or Highsmith.
Highsmith.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Mike Tomlin made sure to make that distinction in his press conference. And for those who maybe don't, follow NFL injury reports or speak much medical, high ankle sprain worse than an ankle sprain. So better news for Highsmith than it was for Loudermilk, and that's reflected in the roster moves here. With Loudermilk moved to IR, now getting called up to the active roster, DeMarvin Leal.
Right.
And as you mentioned, that's not a square peg for a square peg.
Right.
Leal has been an edge. Has been.
He's a full-time outside.
He's a full-time outside guy now, which Loudermilk is not. So while they're similar, that's not a 1-for-1, one guy in, one guy out.
No. So we've talked about this a lot. In the run game, everyone's running away from TJ. Yeah. So I think now that Herbig's back, good, but I don't want him also to be to the offense's left. You hold the point. 30 carries right at you all day long. He's just not built to do that. That's not who he is. He's a pass rusher, and that pass rush is going to be really valuable when it was last week. Sawyer's a rookie, but he's kind of was brought in for that duty too. And I think at this stage of Leal, he's that guy too. He's not super twitchy. He's not going to really bend the edge. He's not going to give you much as a pass rusher. But now you have two big-bodied, run-stuffish guys, in the mix. And Harrison did a little of that, then he got hurt. Highsmith's pretty good at it, hurt. Herbig, you don't want to do that, and you totally trust
Jack Sawyer.
Sawyer. Right.
Yeah. That to me is hopefully a sign that Leal is the Highsmith replacement, and hopefully Derrick Harmon is the healthy replacement along the defensive line.
I think that's what it's telling us.
Interior,
yeah.
At
and
least
I would
as
think
we
Leal
sit here today.
probably gets a hat on Sunday too.
I would absolutely think
you would lean that way.
That's going to be the case. With that as well, too, some moving and shaking to the practice squad. So
actually, some brand name guys to throw in the practice squad.
Absolutely.
Right.
Rakeem Jarrett, the wide receiver, was released, the third-year guy out of Maryland. J.J. Galbraith, the rookie tight end out of South Dakota, who we spent a lot of time talking about out in Latrobe.
You got a lot of action there.
Was released from the practice squad as well, too. With that, 3 additions to the practice squad because the 2 releases and then DeMarvin Leal being called up, so that leaves 3 spots on the practice squad. Matt Sokol, a second-year tight end out of Michigan State. Isaiah Hodgins, wide receiver, 4th-year guy out of Oregon State. And Jawan Bentley, linebacker, 8th-year man out of Purdue, most recently with the New England Patriots.
So Sokol I've heard of, and Hodges I've heard of. And Hodges has caught some passes for the Giants when their receivers were real weak, frankly, the last couple of years, like pre-Neighbors.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's a big-body guy. He's not super flashy or dynamic, but he has a tough edge to him. He's kind of a move-the-chains dude from what I remember. Nice story, But Bentley's interesting. I'm not saying it's the same thing as Peppers, but this guy's been around the block, to say the least, is a big-time downhill thumper in like the Landon Roberts, Malik Harrison mold. He will blow you up. Not the swiftest of foot or want him in coverage, flipping his hips, running with top tight ends and things like that. I think he actually has played some fullback just as a Belichick type thing. And I guess it's relevant. We're talking Patriots this week, and we'll talk about them more the next 2 days. But I think what Vrabel wants, and this isn't a knock on Belichick. Vrabel played under Belichick. I think they're friends, blah, blah, blah. But I think they want Belichick guys out of the building. It's the Vrabel, Drake May team. I don't need Tom. I don't need Bill.
This is how we used to do it. This is how I've always done it.
Right. I mean, it's such a amazing tradition, and I'm sure you can feel hints of those guys everywhere. But that doesn't help you win now. You got to put your own stamp on the team, and you never want to be the guy that follows the guy. But Vrabel wasn't. There was a dude in between that failed. So now I look a lot better because I'm not compared to Bill as much.
Yes.
Smart.
No. It absolutely
I think that's why Peppers and Bentley are out there.
And I think even when you're coming off of a successful era, obviously, as the Bill Belichick era was, you got to do your own thing. You got to chart a new path. You got to close one chapter and start another.
Yeah.
Bill Cowher had to do that when he took over for Chuck Noll. Mike Tomlin had to do that when he took over for Bill Cowher, despite the success that those guys had and what you want to keep around in some cultural things. There just has to be a turning of the page into a new era at the same time.
Right. I mean, this isn't fantasy football. These are locker room guys. Man, we never did this when we were winning Super Bowls. I don't need that. And be different if it was Richard Seymour in his prime. You don't let him go.
Sure.
I mean, but the Bentleys and Peppers of the world might have more value to them outside the building, but to the Steelers, they got a lot of value inside their building.
100%. 100%.
I hope we see Peppers this week.
I'd be
shocked if we don't.
I'll be shocked if we don't.
Right.
I'm not saying it's going to be some massive role and be double-digit snaps, but I'll be shocked if he doesn't step between the white lines a few times.
Yeah. We're planning on having Chris Halleck on. I'm going to bring that up. Could Mike Peppers make a debut? Those dudes that, as we found out over the years with my man in the empty seat here, I mean, those dudes at practice, they know a thing or two of how things might go. Yeah.
Exactly right. That's the one thing, You had that nice benefit with Dale of having a boots on the ground there every day at practice.
And even sometimes off the air, he'd be like, they might run a reverse this week.
See, Dale was seeing how the sausage was made, right?
And there are some goofs on the sideline to cover the team. I won't call anybody out that are just head in the clouds, not getting anything out of practice, just down there because they have to be. But then there's the people that know what they're talking about and realize I'm learning a lot from practice if you pay attention.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's something Moats used to drill into me all the time, too. Like, those context clues are there as long as you're paying attention.
And it's not always easy to find.
Know what to watch. You got to know what to look for. You got to know where to look for those clues. But they are out there. Labs, thank you for taking the time. As always, plenty that we want to get into. Of all the kind of concerns that we've all seen and discussed this week, run game for the offense, pass protection for the offense, run game for the defense, communication in the secondary. Is there one of these things that's at the forefront of your mind that should be, I don't want to say an easy fix, but something that you think is correctable and quick that the Steelers can start to get moving in the right direction this Sunday in Foxborough?
Yeah, looking at it that way, I don't know that I have an answer for you. I mean, I'm not the doctor of fixing problems, but of all of the areas that you mentioned, what I would say is the most critical is protecting the quarterback, not because that it is the most important thing maybe to get fixed in order to have a chance to win on Sunday. But Aaron Rodgers can't be taking those kind of hits regularly. And if he gets hurt, all due respect to Mason Rudolph, and I do respect Mason Rudolph, you're not the same team without Aaron Rodgers. So looking at the consequences of continuing to allow Aaron Rodgers to take those kind of hits is the most concerning to me, because I don't think this Steelers team can afford to be without him for stretches of this season and hope to get into the playoffs.
My hunch is, Labs, you probably agree with me on this one just by your tone there, but if we just isolate Rodgers, which I think is an important thing to do with all quarterbacks, and we can all concede that they're not running the ball very well. The defense isn't helping the offense all that well. Protection's not great. I don't see a wealth of guys just getting open at will. Yet, the offense is still pretty darn good. That sure seems to me like Rodgers has been a success story to this point.
He gives them a chance.
Yeah, that's a better way to put it.
Gives them a chance.
Yep.
Yes, all the time. Because, I just a couple of situations. If Freiermuth holds on to that pass early in the game down the sideline, and that's a catch you got to make, in my opinion. If Calvin Austin isn't trying to do too much in the end zone, those two plays right there, I don't think we're vastly changing the flow of the game or the issues that the Steelers had in that game. But you make those two plays, and you have a chance to win at the end.
Yeah.
And that's
let alone the Austin play was a negative.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, that's at least 3 points you lost.
Yes. Right. And so that's what I mean. Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion, is if you just do some of the routine things, he's going to give you a chance to win.
Yeah, I like the way you phrase it. He gives you a chance.
Gives you a chance, yes. And that's why, for me, there's a lot of things. You're right about the running game. It's not helping them. The run defense isn't allowing the offense to have more possessions, which means he gets more snaps, more chance at the other team's defense. All of those things are true. But to me, his health is paramount. And whatever, we always heard Tunch and Wolf talking about times when they were in the huddle, and, they'd just look around and say, the quarterback doesn't get touched, whatever it is, holding, tripping, whatever you got to do, you got to protect the franchise, so to speak. And for me, that's where I am right now. There may be other ways of looking at this and other issues that I'm sure could be argued or pointed out that are as important or possibly more so. But that's it for me. He cannot get hurt. If something bad would happen to him, I don't like this team's chances very much moving forward.
So Wes and I mean, we have 10 hours to fill a week, and we've talked about a lot of different issues. A lot of them were very prevalent in the Seattle game. But deep down, I feel like the root of the problem, and it's on both sides of the ball, is they just their big guys haven't been good enough. I mean, if they win at the line of scrimmage a higher percentage of the time, we know that there's such a ripple effect with the little fast guys haven't been able to be more successful.
Yes, and that to me is disturbing.
Yeah.
Because getting handled on the line of scrimmage is pretty basic, win or lose. If you're going to look at one thing, and it's not a stat that you can look in the game book and say, well, look at this stat, and this will 99 times out of 100 point to which team won. But for me, it's more of a feel or a sense. And if you're the team that's getting handled on the line of scrimmage, and a lot of times that's shown in your ability to run the ball and your ability to stop the run, but not necessarily all the time. But if you're getting handled on the line of scrimmage, and I think that's what you're referring to,
yes,
that's bad news. And that's bad news because I think in the NFL that's blood in the water for opponents.
Mm-hmm. He said Tunch and Wolf could feel it, and Jerome could feel it, and right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And until that's not the case anymore, opponents are going to try and do some of the same things, whatever those same things are. I mean, I don't know. I can't watch and say, well, this guy in this gap or those kinds of things. My knowledge of the sport isn't to that technical degree, but to me, it's more of a feel.
Yeah.
Just watching. Bill Nunn told me this a long time ago. He said, don't try and figure out too much. Just watch the colors. Where are the colors after the snap of the ball? Mm-hmm. Is the white bleeding into the black? Or is the black bleeding into the white? I'm referring to the jerseys.
Yeah. Like it's a complex game, but it really isn't.
But it really isn't. And watching the game through the binoculars from the Acrisure Stadium press box, the colors were not in the Steelers' favor. I could tell you that.
Yeah. Tomlin often talks about which way the Pals were rolling,
Yep.
Guys,
and sometimes it's not even – I'm sorry, Wes, I don't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good.
Sometimes it's not the which way the pile is moving has to do, I think, with, point of contact with the guy with the ball. Nunn was just talking about the
all the big people,
5 offensive linemen and how many other guys on the defensive front, 4, 3, 6, whatever it might be. At the snap, if they're both coming off the ball, which way is the color bleeding?
Mm-hmm. And guys, I think a good example of that, I think a good microcosm of that has been what we've seen from Jaylen Warren. He has not had much opportunity to find space. He's been contacted behind the line of scrimmage for first contact way too often. But I think we saw in Sunday Labs, like, you give Jaylen Warren an inch, he can take a mile. They've got to start finding ways to get that guy in space and get him more opportunities to do Jaylen Warren type things.
Well, and that also was, in my opinion, was Najee Harris's cross to bear. I mean, how many times – I used to complain about this all the time. How many times did Najee Harris need to break 2 tackles, to get stopped for no gain?
Mm-hmm.
That's just
a lot. Too often.
Right. That's ridiculous. I always believed, the criticisms of Najee Harris, there were a lot of things that were legitimate. But I just wanted to see him get through one game where he got to the line of scrimmage on every carry clean of his.
Yeah.
Now show me what he can do. Now show me or tell me after we see that, is he or is he not a first-round pick? Because I don't think the guy ever had that opportunity. And so, I understand the analytics or whatever it is of, using high picks and paying big-time second contracts to these running backs in the NFL maybe isn't the way to go based on, their availability and where you can find them and the abuse that they have to take and their shelf life and all that stuff. Okay, all of that's fine. But I like Najee Harris as a player in college. I was happy when the Steelers picked him in the first round, but I just didn't think that we didn't see too much of Alabama Najee Harris with the Steelers because I just thought there were too many instances where he's getting hit before he got in the line of even got to the line of scrimmage. Excuse me. So, and that certainly applies to Jaylen Warren, Caleb Johnson, Kenneth Gainwell, Saquon Barkley. I don't care who it is. If these guys have to fight their way back to the line of scrimmage through defenders on a regular basis, they got no chance.
So it sounds like I'm reading the tea leaves here that you're kind of on board with Wes and I as well, that they're sort of in a precarious situation with how they divvy up their running back usage. I mean, Johnson either isn't ready or is incapable. Who knows? We haven't seen him. I don't think Gainwell is built or ever was designed to be on the field as much as he has been, but he kind of has to be. Do you just hand it all to Warren and hope he can handle it? Or I don't know what the answer is, but I think their running back usage is not going as planned.
Well, and I'm going to go back to what I was saying. I don't think it matters until you figure out the other.
Yeah, I hear you.
The way I looked at it, towards the end of training camp, Gainwell was going to be your third down back.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was going to be it would be a good thing if that was his role. And then the other two guys, Jaylen Warren and Caleb Johnson, I'm not saying you split the carries or, they're 1 and 1A as Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren were. I don't know how the usage was going to translate with those two guys, but that was how, you'd use all three and maybe you play the hot hand. Gainwell's the third down back, and the other two guys you play the hot hand with. Now, until the Seattle game, there was really no hot hand. And that was, Jaylen Warren showed some of the things that he showed in his first few seasons, that burst, some nice balance, a refuse to go down easily kind of thing. Now, whether he can sustain that, how many hits can he take, those kinds of things. I mean, at this stage, I don't know that you can really be worried about that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we'll just figure it out as you go and give him the ball if he's your best guy, right?
Yeah, it's too early, to be counting snaps, I think, or worrying about accumulation of snaps, at Thanksgiving and later, because I think right now there's an urgency in getting some of these things going. I mean, I'm not. It doesn't have to be a well-oiled machine, but I think you need to see some success for your own mental health of your team, both as a group and as some individuals. And you need to have some success in that phase, as we were talking about. You got to protect the quarterback, open up the passing game a little bit. Some of the things that you may want to do on offense, if you're strictly one-dimensional and can't run the ball at all, and it's not even a distraction for the opposing defense, that's not a good situation to be in. Maybe you get out of a game with that occasionally, or if you have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, you have that kind of star power, dynamic receivers, you can get away with a game or two, putting it into the strictly in the hands of the receivers and the quarterback. But that's not real here in Pittsburgh. So you need that, and I think the offensive line needs that as well, so that they're able to come off the ball and deliver some punishment. You need to. I think that there's a feel that those guys get and like. That was always Russ Grimm's line. The secret to running the football is moving a guy from point A to point B against his will. And when you're doing that, I think that there's some satisfaction as an offensive lineman, as an offense in general, in total, that you're having your way with these your particular one-on-one opponents, the guy who's opposite you on the line of scrimmage for the most part. And I think that for NFL players, for football players at whatever level, that feeling when you're doing it to someone is a good thing, and it breeds more of that, I think. And if it's happening to you, it's the exact opposite.
Labs, last thing I have for you, and everyone knows that a loss in week 1 costs the same in the standings as a loss in week 12 or 15 or whatever. But the league has changed so much in terms of how you prep for the season, preseason. There are no two-a-days anymore. Obviously there's a lot of things that are way different. What's your thoughts, not just even Steelers, but league-wide, of early season football? Are these teams, and people say it's an extension of the preseason. I think that's crazy. But, just like, I don't know if these teams have shown their true colors yet, especially in the physicality aspects, stopping the run, running the football, things like that.
Well, I don't think they have either.
Mm-hmm.
But the key to the early part of the season for me is, and I've mentioned this to fans or people who engage me in conversation. There is no level of performance that you need to achieve in the early part of the season. You just need to be better than the slappies you're playing that day.
Right.
No, I'm serious.
Like,
and I
Jets
mean
are a perfect example, right? Yeah.
And that's all it is. Don't tell me that this doesn't look good or this part of their performance, isn't top 5 in the league or whatever standard or measuring stick you might want to use. That is totally irrelevant. Okay? If you're 1 point better than whoever you're playing every week in September, you're 4-0. Or however many
while
Sundays
you figure it
there
out.
are. Yeah, and then as you're figuring it out.
Yeah.
You don't have to really get, I don't think, humming along, hitting on all cylinders, whatever cliche you care to use. To me, you can almost get all the way to Thanksgiving before you need that.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you are doing what you need to do, finding ways to win, being better than the other guy on any given Sunday, you're keeping yourself relevant in terms of your standing. Because you can't be like 0-8. You
Right.
know what I mean?
You can't
need
come
to
back in
have
this
some,
league, yeah.
Yes. You got to have some numbers in the win column. So if you're doing that at a nice rate, get to Thanksgiving, I don't know, whatever it is, 10 games, you're 7-3, you might rank in the bottom half of a lot of statistics offensively and defensively, but you're 7-3.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have a chance to, stand off some of those rough edges or file off some of those rough edges, figure out who your real players are, figure out how you want to deploy these guys or how you want to hide them or, whichever way you want to look at it. And maybe you get on a roll down the stretch and because you want to be playing really good, when Santa Claus is making his his trip around the globe.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
you got to get
think
there.
That where right, you got to get there. And where the Steelers are right now, they need some numbers. Like Aaron Rodgers said in his media availability, he doesn't want to get too binary, but you need to win. And that is exactly right. It doesn't have to look pretty. It doesn't have to be aesthetically pleasing. It doesn't have to be anything. It just needs to be a win. Because you won the opener, you lose 2 in a row. Mike Tomlin said at his news conference, 2 is a pattern. He was talking about, I believe, aspects of performance, and I don't disagree with that. But what's 3? How is 3? Bubby Brister once said, "Fixing to come unglued." Is this when you start, throwing the baby out with the bathwater? I don't know. But 2 is bad. I get it. 3 is worse. How bad is it? How bad is 3 compared to 2? I just hope we don't have to experience that or figure that out next week when we're talking.
Completely agree. And, it could be ugly against Mike Vrabel in this Patriots group, but just find a way to get it done and go from there. Labs, thank you so much for taking the time on this Thursday, and we'll be looking forward to talking to you on Sunday.
Okay. Take it easy, fellas.
Gut check time, crossroads time for your Pittsburgh Steelers in this Week 3 game against the New England Patriots. Matt, before we get to thoughts and picks and predictions, we do have the final Friday injury report for both of these teams coming across the timeline. For the Patriots, it's just as simple as we kind of alluded to earlier. Christian Gonzalez, Jack Westover, and Keon White, all questionable.
Okay.
Everybody else that we talked about yesterday and throughout the week, full practice participant, cleared to go. For the Steelers, it's pretty clear-cut as well, too. You can rule out Joey Porter Jr., Sean Elliott, Alex Highsmith, and, of course, Max Sharping. 3 of those 4 I think we all knew, but Joey Porter Jr. officially out after not practicing this whole week. Good news, Derrick Harmon, full practice participant today for the first time,
wow,
and he is listed as questionable.
That sounds like he's going to play.
But he was limited all week, but was a full participant today. The best news, I think, for him in this process.
I think you get him in the mix and see how it looks, and with a pitch count in mind, but maybe you don't need it.
Sounds like a plan to me, and
I
hope that's the way it plays out.
It's a nice shot in the arm, yeah.
And then he gets that experience and that first kind of go at it, and then hopefully bang, full tilt for Dublin and for the Vikings.
Yeah, and if he couldn't go, I was just sitting there thinking, like, man, 4 of your starters that you were counting on the preseason would be out already on defense.
It has certainly been way more attrition there than you've wanted to see. The good news, again, though, that I keep coming back to is it seems like Deshaun Elliott and Alex Highsmith are not long-term things. Those guys not going on IR, and it's always felt like sooner rather than later for Derrick Harmon. Matt, Steelers, Patriots, before we give our predictions and our picks, I like to ask you this. Steelers win if? Steelers lose if?
Line of scrimmage.
I mean, I think it's a pretty easy one this week,
that
right?
way, yeah.
I think I know.
I'll be shocked if the Steeler D-line, with or without Harmon, isn't better than the Patriot O-line in both phases.
It's like we talked about with Labs yesterday.
I said that was against Seattle.
Like, football is a very complex game.
It is.
But it's also a very simple game.
Yeah.
And this week, I do think it is as simple as you win if you win in the trenches on both sides of the ball. Yeah. You lose if you lose in the trenches on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, it's funny. Like the Steelers have talked about it a fair amount this week about the defense, how their alignments have been a little off. Their communications have been a little off. And people are probably like, your alignments. Dude, if you're a linebacker or a D lineman and you're 6 inches to the right or left or whatever,
you're shading the wrong side of the field.
Yeah, when you talk about it being a complex game, it's way more complex than I know. Let alone what most people listening know. You sit in a coach's meeting room and let them talk, and it's like, wow. Or spend a lot of time with the quarterback.
It's
wow.
like you put your foot at a 45-degree angle when it needed to be at a 70-degree
angle.
Right.
What are you doing? You crazy? Right, that kind of thing.
The Aaron Rodgers thing that we always talk about, you broke it 7.5 yards, not 8 yards.
Yeah, I can't have it, right. And that's common knowledge. I mean, that's 101, let alone doctorate level stuff. But you're right. If you don't block and tackle anybody, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
I mean? It just doesn't matter. I've thought about this more and more. And earlier in the week, I had the Steelers winning 23-20. And I'm going to make it even stronger now, 23-17, with like a late touchdown for the Patriots. I think Rodgers and Hayward and all these dudes that have won a lot of Ramsey and have won a lot of games are going to take this a little personal and kind of grab the teammates by the throat and this is a game we have to win. Business trip. Patriots get a late touchdown to make it look closer than it was. And I'm not saying the Steelers will dominate or all their problems are going away. I hope that's the conversation we're having Monday, but I'm sure there'll be things they still have to work on. But, man, they have so many veterans that have won so many games, and the Patriots just don't.
I'm not too far off from you. 21-17 was
Okay.
the prediction that I have for the Steelers. I don't think that we are sitting here Monday thinking that all of our woes are cured and suddenly, here we go. We're about to rattle off a bunch of wins and,
Right,
and become one of the best teams in the AFC.
I wouldn't book reservations for the Super Bowl or anything. Right.
But I think we are feeling much better on this Monday than we have the last couple. And I think we are talking about a Steelers team that found a way to get it done. And I know when you say that, sometimes it insinuates it's going to be ugly. It's going to be like the Jets game.
The Jets game is a perfect example, right? That was finding a way to get it done.
I think it'll be more buttoned up than that. It's one of those things. We all have our dumb things that we say too often as radio hosts when you speak for hours and hours a week.
Right.
I don't think it's going to be a Mona Lisa, Matt. I don't think it's going to be a work of art, but I also don't think it's going to be like you were so fortunate to get out of there with a win.
I think there'll be progress.
It'll be a B+ performance, progress
Against a C- team.
much better than last week.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, can we really put it together in Dublin? Can we really get to October feeling substantially better?
Yeah, I'm expecting. Wow, they averaged 4.1 yards per carry again. Okay, hit a couple big plays over the top.
Win the sack differential. Win the explosive play differential.
Rodgers made some throws and didn't make any big mistakes. And wow, the D-line wasn't going backwards all game. And Watt gets 2 sacks. I
want to see 3 or 4 sacks of Drake May.
Mm-hmm.
That's something we spent a ton of time talking about in the offseason. It hasn't been good enough through 2 games.
Yeah.
Go get after this offensive line that has plenty of opportunity to do so.
Yeah, and I don't feel super confident about my prediction, but
no, I don't either.
Monday could be a long day, and I hate thinking that way, but
same.
I could write a story for you that'd be very believable. That man, this isn't so good, but I'm going the opposite direction.
I am too. The Steelers have their concerns. The Steelers have their issues, but I think New England has more concerns and more issues, and I think that will play out. As you mentioned, too, the veterans, the experience, the pride, the future Hall of Famers that the Steelers have kind of grabbing the rest of the team by the scruff and dragging them to a victory at Foxborough Stadium.
Yeah, I just think there's too much leadership and been around the blockness. Rodgers, Ramsey, Hayward, Watt.
Hopefully that shines through Sunday at 1:00. Matt, good stuff this week, man.
Yeah.
We'll look forward to hearing you on the pregame on Sunday. A big thank you to Missy Matthews for joining us today.
Wednesday was a tough one. Just want to not forget about that, too.
No doubt.
Yeah.
We'll continue, I think, we'll feel that for the rest of this season, for the rest of this year, for the rest of forever. But thanks to everybody for helping us get through it.
Yeah,
certainly.
Yeah. Again, Steeler Nation stepped up big for us.
No, you guys are awesome, and I know Dale's. I don't know if it was Amy or one of his sons, but they actually took to his Twitter account. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, no.
To thank everybody for the outpouring of support as well too. So
okay.
I know the Lolley family has felt that, and it hasn't gone unnoticed.
And I don't think she'd mind, but Amy was texting my wife and said she was going back and watching old drives when Dale and I were in our prime. Just to kind of remember him.
The happy
when
days,
he was rolling along. Yeah.
We will continue to do that. We will continue to remember our brother for all the happy times and for all the good days and for all that he did to build up this show and this network and just football conversation amongst Steeler Nation and in Western Pennsylvania in general. We love you, Dale.
You're tuned to The Drive on your 24/7 home of the Black and Gold, Steelers Nation Radio.